talk a little bit tonight about climate and air quality, cooling systems and the marine effects and the LNG safety and security, but bring it down to where you're most concerned with the level of San Chin and Manhattan Peninsula. When all that cracked gas gets down to the coast, it's liquefied. That means that you take it from room temperature and you turn it into a liquid at minus 162. That's twice as cold as anywhere on Earth has ever been. It shrinks it to the size of a basketball or basic beach ball this size down to the level of a pea. And you put it in, you liquefy, store it in a tank, and along comes the tanker and takes 60,000 tons of it away at a time. To make that gas turn into a liquid, requires an enormous amount of power, and there isn't in the Manhattan Peninsula, in the whole of Vancouver Island, enough power from BC Hydro to do this. So this plant is going to have to generate its own power, despite what those of you here on Tuesday where they haven't finished their design just yet. It's pretty well a guarantee, 100% dead ringer certainty, that they're going to have to generate their own power in order to do this. For that, they're going to have to burn about 10% of that gas. By the time they're all done with the leaking frac wells, the leaking pipes, the burning of gas in the pressure station, and then the burning of gas to make enough electricity to run that enormous refrigerator that is proposed to be in your inlet, you're talking 6 to 8 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions pouring into your airship. And I guess the equation that has been tried to be made here is that we have some sort of moral obligation to China to clean up their air, but that doesn't appear to apply any moral obligation to keep yours the way it is. And also avoids the fact that it would seem to be the Chinese government's requirement to deal with its citizens and its problems, which it is doing, but it is doing at the moment not with natural gas-powered generation, but they are becoming quickly the world leaders in renewables. The secondary effect that Steelhead don't want to talk about, and they do, is the effect on your inlet of the fact that you have to carry away all this heat from the room temperature gas down to minus 160. That's an awful lot of heat you suck out of that gas to turn into a liquid. You've got to put that somewhere, and there's only two places to put it: in the air or in your water. And they have all floating liquefaction plants. There aren't any alive in the world right now. But the proposed ones all use seawater cooling to carry away that heat. Now, that might be fine out in the middle of an ocean, where there isn't a whole pot of life. But in the closed inlet, tied up to the shore, in an inlet that does not circulate its water more than once a year, sucking in 21 or 22 Olympic-sized swimming pools of water every hour of every day for 25 years and poisoning it with bleach, running it into a boiling state, and blowing it back out into your inlet with this biocide added is going to kill the marine life in your inlet. Dead, stone cold, or 10 degrees warmer than it used to be. The windsurfers might appreciate, but the fish will not. And it is your inlet. And that's a technique that is banned on the West Coast. California 4 years ago told all their power plants, this is too damaging to the marine environment, stop. You have 4 years to convert to one-stream cooling, get on with it, and they did. So in New York, similarly, they banned in the Hudson River the use of a nuclear plant to use water from the Hudson River to cool its reactors, and said you have to go through something called closed-loop cooling, and that means you suck in the water once, and you keep reusing it, cooling it, using it, cooling it. That technique is much less damaging to the marine organisms in the inlet. Lastly, I think the safety issues. When I first heard of this, I couldn't believe that somebody was proposing to put an LNG facility in the middle of a residential neighborhood in this inlet. I just thought, this is the wackiest scheme I think I've ever heard, and I heard a few. In 25 years of consulting and living in boardrooms, this wouldn't last 5 minutes in a normal boardroom, but there may be other things at play here. There are the international organization called SIGTO. It's all the gas terminal and tanker operators have rules, and they have generally had pretty good compliance with those rules and a pretty reasonable safety record. There are far more accidents with pipelines and compression stations than there are with LNG tankers. And those rules are clearly set out. Do not put LNG plants in narrow inland waterways populated by significant recreational, commercial, and ferry traffic. And if there's a description of Sandwich Inlet that's different than that, then it's me. The other odd thing is that it's a floating facility, and it's going to require a pipeline running from Cherry Point, Washington, 75 kilometers along the undersea floor, right past the ferry terminal and into your inlet of undersea pipeline. And I go, floating facility, undersea pipeline. Why don't you just move the floating facility over to where it came from at Cherry Point, Washington? And that has to do with the fact that the US has regulations, and we are attempting to turn BC into a third world country and not called BC anymore, but British Columbia anymore, but bribery and corruption. You add this harebrained scheme that last year generated less revenue on net revenue on natural gas sales, as Andrew has described, than the city of Vancouver collected in parking tickets. And you know that this is not I think in 25 years, I've looked at a lot of business cases. I charge clients a lot of money for my opinion. And I don't think this would last 15 minutes in a boardroom, or certainly a banker would throw this thing out. But there are reasons for this that we do not see, and I think it's largely associated with the fact we have no regulations, and these proponents know it, and they are abusing you. And the tax incentives that have been dished out to them mean that this claim that if we don't do this industry, our hospitals will close and our teachers will be on the street is absolute rubbish. And the quicker you tell this government that, the better. Thank you.
We have one over here.
Oh, we have one over here. So we have two mics. I just wanted to put some context. I have met with the CEO of Steelhead LNG, and I've been to some of their meetings, and they do continually say, it's early days yet. We have not put a proposal together. We have not submitted it to government. So that's the case. We do not yet have an active project proposal on Sandwich Inlet from this company, but they do seem very interested in us. I think it's amazing that they offered as much as $10,000 to hold that meeting. And I do want to say to North Sandwich Council that we are all in their debt for taking this on and holding public meetings. But it's passing strange. We also know that some of the motivations that we don't see, and I'll just mention this one. I think all know I oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal. And one of the reasons is that it extends investor state rights, which is the right of a company from another country to bring arbitration cases against Canada. For the first time, it will extend it to Malaysia. So that if we change up the deals that the current provincial government has made with Petronas, they would have the ability, if we ratify the TPP, to bring charges against Canada for defrauding them of their expectation of profits here, even if their expectation of profits are as loopy as the ones you've heard so far tonight. So I'm going to ask anyone at the microphone, please, if you wouldn't mind, say your name, and if you want to direct your question to a particular person, please do so. You certainly are allowed to make a comment. This is a public meeting, but try to avoid doing what I'm doing and make a speech. Try to keep it short. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Conway. I grew up next door to you, actually, Chief Tom, Clark Road. I live in Victoria now, and I am adamantly opposed to this plant and all fracking in British Columbia. My question, I suppose, is for everybody on the board and everyone in the room. Why can't we insist on a referendum in British Columbia for the citizens to vote on whether or not fracking should be permitted in our province? When we have the issues such as, even if you just look at the very basic, polluted water, possibility of earthquakes, and the fact that we're going after an industry which is currently in its death throes. We need to be promoting alternative energy such as solar power, wind power, and God knows we've got wind on the coast. So I just want to know, why can't we ask for a provincial-wide vote to prevent fracking?
The current BC referendum laws, many of you will know from work on the HSP and other things, is that you need to have signatures in every single constituency, in the provincial constituency, to a large number to force a referendum. Now, this referendum questions are something I'm looking at a lot federally too, but does anyone on the panel want to provide more precision around the response to this question? I think the referendum is next spring, 2017. There's an election.
I think that's probably, you could have a referendum on this issue. The oil and gas industry will throw tens of millions of dollars into this province to prevent any moratorium. Or you can just hold an election and you can turf out the current folks in power.
We have a moratorium, by the way, in Quebec, Nova Scotia, and a moratorium in New Brunswick, which was brought about by an election, was just confirmed indefinitely by the New Brunswick government last week.
First, and Pamela Elizabeth for organizing this. My main interest, I haven't seen anything until your pamphlet tonight, was on the setbacks. And I still haven't heard anything from Transport Canada. I was at the meeting in Central Saanich when Steelhead was there. My name is Peter. Maren and myself, I teach marine stuff. If they go to 1,500 meters setback, or even 600 meters, with the size of the tanker, the size of the plant, how the hell am I going to get down Coles Way or from Sydney when I take people down Fortune Gardens, Todd Inlet, and in this airport, you're using that whole inlet? Has the town heard anything? Who will control that? Who will actually police it? Will we have the Coast Guard? Will we have Marine RCMP putting in Transport Canada rules for that setback? Because you won't be able to use it. Never mind the regular boaters, private boaters all over the place. There's one point that hasn't been brought out. I know nobody once says I was in the oil business as a diver, and I know what went on an offshore rigs like 24/7 and noise and lights, and a lot of noise and a lot of 24/7 bright lights. So the people living around there is crazy. I live in the middle of the peninsula. I won't see it, but I'll probably certainly hear it and see the glow from the lights, even by the very end. Does anybody know what Transport Canada is proposing on that? Thank you.
Transport Canada has no rules on that, and clearly the law says that the but technically it's the Coast Guard, but the Coast Guard has no the proponent has no jurisdiction outside of the water lease extension into the water at the plant. The tanker going in and out has only the rights of way that are afforded under normal navigation roads at sea. So technically, as a sailboat, you have rights over an LNG tanker, but I would be cautious about it. These tankers are 300 meters long, 60 meters wide, and 40 meters tall. They go at 8 to 10 knots because they're being so tall, any wind blows them off course, and in a narrow channel, steerage is really important. They will be accompanied by tugs who will probably act as the primary source of get out of my way, I'm coming through. They have no rights to do that on the open ocean, but that's effectively what, at the moment, the scene will be.
Yeah, I can just add that because of the threat of terrorism, which was mentioned, I think mostly Chief John Tom referred to it, I know that on the U.S. side of the border, because for years I was involved when I was with Sierra Club of Canada, in a fight against, believe it or not, it was in the state of Maine, and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia politicians and communities were organizing against a proposed LNG plant that was defeated in Passamaquoddy, Maine. One of the reasons it was defeated was that it was very clear that the U.S. government, for military purposes, would require a 1.5 meter setback zone, 1.5 kilometer setback zone, in all directions around that LNG tanker as it moved. So no fishing boats, no ferries, no commercial vessels, and it would be enforced by the U.S. military. So that was one of the concerns that shot down that proposal for a Passamaquoddy LNG terminal. The most recent update I have from Transport Canada is that they are working on developing the rules, but I cannot get an answer from them as to timeline or whether you can expect such rules.
They do have rules on traffic lanes, but
yes, but no specific systems. They need to develop, and they know this in Transport Canada. They are not unaware that if an LNG industry comes to Canada, they will need regulations for required setback zones around tankers. They've not yet shared anything publicly for consultation. There's nothing yet as a draft regulation in the Canada Gazette. When I met with the CEO of Steelhead LNG, he thought that his best guess was that they might have to have 250 meter setback zones, but that's far less than would be required in most of the U.S. circumstances that I've studied. So it's an unregulated area now. It will be regulated because it is unsafe to move an LNG tanker around, and the terrorist threat is one part of it, but so is, of course, the risk of accident.
Hello. Thank you for your answers and explanations. My name is Jennifer Dick, and I live in the area for more than 25 years. And welcome, Andrew, for moving to the island. And I have a question that you might be able to explain simply to me and to the audience. The chain of energy, the energy chain that starts at Site C and then goes to BC Hydro and then goes to some fracking refineries, I believe, or something, and then that somehow is hooked up with Fort McMurray and tar sands. Can you explain that loop a little? It's a simple loop, but it's obscured by all their smoke and mirrors.
Close to 50% of the shale gas now being extracted in northern BC is shipped to Alberta, where it is used in the tar sands to extract bitumen. Also there's a fair amount of condensate, natural gas condensate, which is almost like a gasoline-like substance, which is needed in the tar sands as well to dilute bitumen so you can move it through a pipeline. Most of the companies operating in northern BC, of course, operate in northwestern Alberta as well. Energy, the Site C dam, which is currently under construction, is really a $9 billion boondoggle, which you will all pay for dearly in higher electrical prices, is completely unnecessary. But to Christy Clark, it is necessary in the sense that it will provide electricity for a number of fracking operations up there. It could also potentially provide, again, subsidized electricity for LNG terminals if they were to build. So all of these things are connected.
Does anyone else in the panel want to add to that? I thought you looked like you were going to say something.
25% of it is exported south of the border, and another 25% you and I burn to heat our houses and cook our food. But 50% of it goes to sweat tar out of tar sands. Site C, some estimates have it that it will cost 15 cents a kilowatt hour to generate. In other words, that's the cost of Site C electricity. The province has recently done a deal to sell it to LNG facilities at 8.3 cents. So, as Andrew says, I think the economic development program for this province is beginning to resemble an issue of Mad Men.
Good evening. My name is Harold Wolf. I'm a geologist, so I've given a lot of thought to this whole LNG industry and fracking, and I share most of your concerns. But I have some other bigger concerns, and most of you saw the big map that I've got outside the door, where I've been getting people to put the little flag and to reinforce that we're talking about our backyard. We're talking about our home. And I'm really concerned that if we put our focus on the industry and what's happening in northeastern BC, if we lose that battle, they're going to come and destroy our home. And we can't let that happen. So we have to stand with the First Nations, and we have to say yes to saving Sand Inlet. We're not the forces of no, we're the forces of yes, we're protecting this. So we have to come together on that. Now the other concern I have, and I've given some of you heads up on this, many of the people have been looking at this and said that makes absolutely no economic sense to run a pipeline to a floating gas plant. And it's as far away as you can get from northeastern BC. So why are we doing it? And what I think we're missing, I've got a theory. Every day I think about it, it gets stronger. This is not about connecting to northeastern BC. This is an extension by Williams of their American network of natural gas across the border, because none of the regulators in the U.S. have given them access to the Pacific Ocean. The pipe station runs short. Once they get a pipe across the border, blessed by this cheerleading government, as soon as it comes across the border, it is protected by NAFTA and any other investor state protection. So they're doing an end run around American regulators. I truly believe that they want to get American gas into the Pacific, and they're using us as scapegoats.
Carol, I don't think there was a question there, but I'm going to pause for to see if any of the panelists want to comment on that.
I've looked hard to see if there's any connection between Steelhead and Williams, and I cannot find any, but I'm still looking.
Well, they are the partners. The map that you used in your presentation connects to the Williams pipe. I've got maps if anybody wants to look at them on the way out. This connection, this extension goes to the Williams network. It doesn't connect to Spectra directly. It connects to Spectra via the Williams pipeline. And Williams is being in on a lot of projects, and they've all been denied. They were the partner in the Georgia Strait crossing as well. They're desperately trying to get to the Pacific. So the 3 weeks after they signed the deal with Malhat First Nations, Steelhead said that they had hired Williams to do the assessment for the pipeline.
There actually might be another issue here as well. Once you have established LNG infrastructure on the island, which will, we're talking about infrastructure that very high capital cost, $4 to $5 million, you're going to want to keep a return on that investment. You're going to want to keep those operations going as long as possible, even when the shale gas reserves in northern BC are depleted. And they will deplete quite rapidly. The shale gas has about an 80% decline rate after its first year of production. The island, unfortunately, has any number of coal seams. They have been mapped. They are high in methane. So if you put an LNG terminal on this island, I guarantee you that the coal seams on this island will be fracked to fill that LNG terminal.
Thank you, next.
My name is Diana Erickson. Can you pull my down photograph? Whoops, it's going to fall right here. It's so short. Anyway, my name is Diana Erickson, and I currently live in Mill Bay, and I'm very close to Shawinigan Lake, and I've been helping and trying to get the government and the powers that be to listen to us. Even the judicial system is not listening to us. And we're feeling very despondent. And it has to do with water. It has to do with life, our sacred water. I would like to thank Chief Tom for being here. I would like to say thank you to the Sail, the Paquetchon, the Sartlet, all of them. Thank you for standing with us. The Cowichan people also stood with us. The Malahat tried, but they couldn't. The feeling of powerlessness over the government, the judicial system, the companies. We had to follow the money, and we lost. We couldn't find who was who and where was where. And when we finally did, it was too late. Hopefully, the judicial system will, with this next one that's coming up in August, is going to help us out. The defense, the Department of National Defense didn't even help us because they wanted to use our property. They wanted to put their sludge up there. How can we have the power to stop all these things that are happening to us? How can we tell them? We tell them in so many ways. We go the right way, the provincial way. We go this way, we go that way. How? And please, Chief Tom, would you please, if you need any help, if you need somebody to stand beside you, if you need some, in any way, in prayer, anything, please let us know. And we will stand beside you, because you're the only one who is going to help us out, I'm sure. Thank you.
The community fighting for Shawinigan Lake's water has been extremely brave and tenacious. The winning of the court case should have solved things that should have been enough. I know I'm often with back and forth with Sonia, your councillor, working to try to get Catherine McCann or our new Minister of Fisheries to agree to intervene. So I'm working on it where I can push steadily. But the abuse and the lack of understanding of protecting Shawinigan Lake and protecting our drinking water and your drinking water is another, I agree, that although some might think it's off topic, it's the same mindset.
It's all water.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming all this way down from Mill Bay, and if you're standing with us, we're standing with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is John Furler. I live in Sandwich. I'd just like to thank the panelists here for expressing their opinions and yourself. I'd like to ask a quick question. Has this government, this Liberal government, already signed a deal with Petronas, a long-term deal that puts this province in debt?
Certainly signed a 25-year agreement with Petronas, and it limits the ability of the government to change any rules regarding taxation, particularly, and regulations for the most part. And it binds future governments to keep to those rules for 25 years. It also has a clause in there that if anybody negotiates a better deal than Petronas got, Petronas gets the advantage of that better deal. It's called a weekly clause. And it's quite ridiculous. It was forced through the Parliament last July, and there have been a couple of other giveaways since to try and basically beat this dead horse into life. It's quite dramatically awful for the future of our province, and particularly our children, who will have to bear this debt.
Thank you, sir. Just one more question. The issue of vessels in the Sailor Sea, there's articulated barges running up and down this coast that are not regulated by the federal government. And they're transporting hydrocarbon, I don't know what kind of hydrocarbon, from either Washington State or from British Columbia to Alaska. Why are they using the inland sea and endangering our...
There's a restriction on oil tankers using the inside passage. They get around it by using an articulated barge to transport 10,000 tons of diesel oil from basically Anacortes to Anchorage. And they get around it by having an articulated barge rather than a tanker. It's been approved by the Pacific Passage Authority, and they do the run every second week or so, up and down. It's a glaring hole in what is supposed to be a tanker-free zone. It's called the Nathan E. Stewart. You can Google it and find out where it is.
So we should reject the TPP right off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I have also been working on this issue of the articulated barges because they are using a loophole in transport rules that should not be allowed. But as you were reaching towards the mic on the question of the extent of the deal that BC has signed with Petronas.
Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce what Owen had to say. The province is locked in for 25 years with its deal with Petronas. And this is the deal that is the model for all future LNG deals. And so here's the wonderful clause I found
Andrew,
in the
can you hold
most...
the mic closer to your mouth as you read the wonderful clause?
wonderful clause that you can read in the last edition of the BC budget. I suggest every British Columbian read it. So here they're making this admission. If government makes changes to any of these very specific taxes or regulatory requirements, and if those changes are material, the province may be required to provide compensation under the project development agreements. Now, how third world is that?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, gentlemen, for your appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, John.
It's nasne date psycho. Aishka nakwa metetso kostum man stema. Chakate. Absolutely no seatla. I always tell things to the government. Disqualifies about the Steelhead. I was government. Gracias. I just want to thank everyone. You know, it's so important that we stay together on this issue. It's about time, because we've been talking about this for over 60 years. No, really. Finally, we're working together. Before, it's, those Indians don't know what the hell they're doing, or don't know what the hell they're talking about. And now I look at this, it's beautiful. What I said about my grandmother was, you know, the government, they don't know what were our values, First Nations values. And I said, she told me that, when are they going to sober up? You know, it's true. They get high paid, they don't do anything for themselves, that's all. LNG got approved, but the Trudeau government didn't approve it yet. They said something about December, November, December. We have time to invite that person down here. When we look at Elizabeth May, to invite him here and really talk at him. You know, if we're going to stay together, we stay together. You know, no fooling around. This fella talking about his flags, we got better flags, better flag. It's our ancestors are almost 12,000 years old in our ground. And when they start putting pipes in there, they're going to be digging up our ancestors. They've been doing that for years and years. How old is Canada going to be? 250 years next year? Oh, what to do?
It's even less what-to-do. It's only 150.
Oh, never.
Your recent interlopers on your territory.
No. This is something that we really got to stay together on. We will. You know, it's, I thank Chief Tom, you know, and I asked Chief Tom to ask the other chiefs to be here. This is an important thing because we talk about our grandkids, our great-grandkids, and the unborn. That's for everybody. We're going to be here for a long time, and all of you are going to be here for a long time. We've got to learn how to heal, respect one another. Thank you.
Before I go to the next question, I just want to respond briefly to former Chief Jack. Very, very good point. The December deadline is for a decision to be made by Cabinet on one specific project. The Pacific Northwest, owned by Petronas, is the Petronas project. It is an enormous threat to all the salmon, the Northwest Coast. It is a threat to Little Island and to the extraordinarily rare flora bank, which creates a unique ecosystem. I've been studying up on it a bit. The sand in Flora Bank is 8,000 years old. Yeah. No one knows why it's there or why it's like that, but if they go ahead and be washed out to sea and lost, according to the best experts I can find. But I love your idea of us inviting our Prime Minister here. And when you talk about people, and there's a close connection. Some of you will know this, that some of Justin Trudeau's relatives live in our community. His grandmother, the great-grandmother to his beautiful children, is buried in Holy Trinity Churchyard. We have a connection, and I'll ask. Thank you.